Hello, this is Lantern Valley, and you are watching the February package video 2022.
It's the monthly update video as usual, and what did we do this month?
We did a lot.
We went over.
We did a lot.
So we took our calendar at the start of the month and divided each week into Sunday being the day that we go over taglines for all of the 30 wholesome fantasy stories we're creating, and the other.
We divided the rest of the week into batches of 3. So Monday through Wednesday was one world, and Thursday through Saturday was the other. And the system ended up working really well.
First world was World 5. Second world of the week was World
19.
19.
And meanwhile, I just worked away on World 9 drafting. And by the end of February, ideally it's going to be finished. I was going to aim to finish by the end of January, but I didn't know what finishing a thing was going to be like. And then what we ended up doing every day was like an hour of going over a bunch of crazy stuff. And then I would spend like an hour and a half transcribing it and expanding upon it. And yeah, that took a lot of time. But we got so much done that it was worth just slowing everything down.
Yeah, so
on
there's...
my end anyway.
There's 3 new behind-the-scenes packages this month.
It's a lot of content.
2.0, 2.1, and 2.2, and each one is 5 gigabytes of video. I don't know how many videos that is exactly, but it's quite a bit. And because it would have been like 22 hours total of the 3, combining the 3. So I guess we filmed like 22 days of the month. Which maybe makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we filmed about an hour a day, and
give or take, sometimes 45 minutes or something.
Yeah. And then with technical difficulties, and then we just talked about the stories. Essentially, World 5 didn't have much to it, so we were just inventing characters and scenes that we could then put the characters in.
More building the story in a framework that actually fits with something like a novel. Because the original World 9, 17, and 27, which are the 3 books that I've almost finished doing a first draft of in novel form, I took the Treasure Tale mock-up that we did initially and I turned that into a novel. And it really didn't work. It worked. It's like trying to take a movie and then just take the screenplay and then write it into a novel. Like it different structure entirely, took a different medium.
This is World 16, but this was like essentially a Treasure Tale story would be 16 of these with writing.
And each of these is an isolated story.
And what I mean by these is an image this big or a series, a montage of images this big with words on it. So to translate that into a novel is what we
really work.
Tried to do for the first other ones that we're working on because we had this done already, sort of.
Yeah, and that direct translation it did a lot of obvious things, like for example, story pacing and story beats and just the plot in general. The plot was fine, but it didn't structure itself like a story because there's all these different highlighted moments of characters being in different places and stuff like that, and the way you have to jump between them or fill in certain areas, it just makes it really strange. And then there's a lot of description that wasn't necessary in Treasure Tales.
You would have a picture of someone instead of their clothes description.
Yeah, or even just giving names to places. Like in the images, we could draw a really cool shell house with vines all around it, like go into a lot of detail on like the art or like just the layout of the page or whatever it is. And then when you write it, to describe some things is either almost impossible, or you have way more description to do, or the things that never needed describing in this or pointing out, now the characters all need names, or the places all need names, or you have to explain other nuances to it that weren't even in here. And that changes the entire structure of the story too.
Which is potentially going to make the books large because of all the description needed, because the worlds are so fantastical that you can't just say, it's a piano, it's a table, It's
Yeah.
like more elaborate.
I was laughing the other day on how I miss words like water and chair and
Yeah.
just normal things.
Words you can just throw on the page and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Concrete things. But we also may just become really good at cutting down what's not necessary and therefore not have really large descriptions forever.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. So, like a really simple example that I'll probably use again and again is on our treasure tail page, for example, we can have an image of a kid skipping up a mountainside that's in a volcano, and it's just some basic stuff like that of some weird ethereal sap volcano landscape. And then in a book, the opening scene, I just took it straight from the treasure tail page, and there's a kid on an ethereal volcano skipping up the mountain, whatever. And to make that the opening scene, because I copied the treasure tail page layout perfectly, that is so much stuff at the beginning that doesn't even make sense unless the treasure tail page, you can see it right off the bat, because every single thing you describe, then you have to go into describing all of the different aspects that you use to describe that one thing, because everything that you write is bringing up more questions. It's just a pile. So yeah, just things like that are not. It wasn't cohesive for translating directly into a treasure tail, and it made a lot. There's going to be so much rewriting or just filling in spaces and going back through and changing things so that the narrative actually works. Where in the 3 days by 3 days that we were doing every week this month, we have been really efficiently building a narrative that for a novel
that works as a novel.
Yeah,
right away,
efficiently and quickly and really good. Like it's so much of a tighter packed narrative where every scene has multiple purposes and everything feeds into each other rather than like meandering highlights that are somehow supposed to fuse with the other parts somehow. Yeah.
And so next month, he's going to be finishing World 9 as a first draft. And then the month after, I'm going to read it. I might start reading the beginning this month. And then we're going to go over 3 days of World
26.
5 or 26 first in the first 3 days of the month or the week. And then 5 after, so we're going to keep doing 5. And then we're going to have the Sunday as the extra day, which is right now tagline. Which is basically the shortest little elevator pitch we can have for all 30 stories. Just coming up with those and making that easy for us to explain when someone asks, what's world this?
Yeah.
We can just say...
For example, like if we want to describe, like we don't have the taglines memorized, but if we want to describe something like World 26 right now, which is the one we're now going to start working on, we'd have to say like there's a flying city and they play shows repeatedly and there's a musician, phantom elephant creatures that stomp through the area and then things warp and people flicker out of existence and like we need to cut these things down.
Performances.
Yeah, it's really confusing.
So to find the concise way to really just get the essence across and intrigue people to be like, well, okay,
if they want to know
what
that,
else,
then what
does that mean? And then we have another concise paragraph version that is saying, a little more description. And eventually we're going to have all of these on YouTube playlists that you'll be able to see the tagline and then the little blurb after, and then have more details about characters and all these things that as we read the books.
Yeah.
So that's about it, I think.
Yeah, there's lots of work to do. I'm gonna do a bunch this month or next month because it's the 31st as we're filming this.
So February packages available. They support our projects and stories, and we will continue to be creating 30 wholesome fantasy stories. And that's it. That's LVS February 2022.
Yahoo!